What's good, Elijah? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing, everybody? Welcome in, man. Happy Monday, baby. Happy Monday. How's everybody doing out there, man? Yes, sir. We had a busy weekend in the NBA. Sheesh. Oh my God. We got so much to talk about today. Man. I won't waste too much of your time. I will get right into it today. Welcome to another episode of the Jayson Estrera Show, where we talk about basketball as accurate as possible. Let me tell you some crazy shit. I think I was no bullshit. I think I was dreaming about like basketball last night. I woke up at like 5:30 in the morning, and I tried to go back into sleep, and I'm literally picturing how the Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves are about to play. That's literally what I was thinking about, and everybody else. Oh man, so we got a lot to talk about today, man. Easily timeless, modern, crisp take on a timeless silhouette, clean, effortless. What is happening? What is happening right now? A real American fit. Is that what it is? Is that what this is? Is that what's happening? What is going on right now? Oh man, but yeah, we got some hoops to talk about today. But before we get into the playoffs, and before we get into that, the WNBA draft will be taking place later today, right? So that's something definitely that I'm looking forward to. Paige Beckers will in all likelihood be going number one, unless there's this French woman. I think she's 18 now, they said. She's 6'6". Her name is Dominique Malonga. I hope I'm saying that right. What the fuck is this, man? Nah, I've seen it. No. Wait a second. We talking about Caitlin Clark. We talking about Angel Reese, Juju Watkins, even Paige now in terms of like up and coming. Like, what the fuck? Like, where did this come from? I'll be honest with you. We were watching the Olympic Games together. Apparently, she was on the French team, and I don't remember. But I'll tell you what, she at this point is younger than Paige Becker. Not Paige Beckers. I'm sorry. Than Juju Watkins, than all of them. And she's about to enter the WNBA draft, and so the ability to play with professionals at a much younger age. Right, that's the thing that's the double-edged sword when it comes to college basketball and having an age restriction or a minimum year requirement, right? If you are talented enough to go and not be in college for 2, 3, 4 years, you benefit from trying to hone your skills and your talent against other professionals at a younger age instead of other college basketball players, right? So, she has something that you can't teach, which is the athleticism, and it looks so easy. So all the other stuff when it comes to the game, I think you could teach most of it. You can't teach her natural athleticism. So we got to see where she's going to go. Let me see. Where is she projected to go? Let's see. She's the best international prospect, they're saying. Where do they have her? Let me see. I'm trying to find where they have her on the. Oh, here you go. The mock draft. Oh, they have her going to Seattle. Okay, so they have her going second. They got her going second. So definitely something to look forward to. But in other news as well too, right? Before we continue on, Mike Budenholzer, Coach Bud has been fired by the Phoenix Suns, and you know it's not super surprising, I guess. After the season that they've had with the talent that they had, you know, they were for the most part healthy, right? With two of their guys being there for most of the games. And you know, obviously I think that a part of it is, again, the blame is falling on the coach, right? Again, the blame is falling on the coach when I think the construction of the team is just not very good. I saw a photo over the weekend of Chris Paul with Devin Booker, with Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton. You know, after the NBA Finals where they lost, and that crew had only played, I think it was 8 games together. I think it was like 8 games together. And so, you know, when you think about what they gave up, right? They took offense by getting Bradley Beal. And we'll be talking a lot about fits today, right? How certain teams, duos, and trios fit. But this particular team, they were really missing a point guard and a do-it-all defensive-minded big. And in that finals run, I wasn't surprised that they lost. I actually had Milwaukee in that finals, right? I had Milwaukee winning it. And some of it fell on DeAndre Ayton, right? Because I was saying in that finals that if he can even kind of match what Giannis is able to do in terms of offensively and on defense, he doesn't have to put up 30 and 12 like Giannis would do with 8-9 assists. That's not what he needs to do. But he needed to be a real pest on defense and to be able to hit some mid-range shots and get to the paint. And obviously that didn't work out. But if you think about this particular team, if they would have had Chris Paul and they would have had DeAndre Ayton with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, think about how much better that team sounds already. Right? They got, who was it? They got Nurk, right? They had Nurkic, who isn't really a defender like that, not like DeAndre Ayton, you can move him, you know, he's a mobile big. And so when you think about the construction of the team, yes, we still expected more out of them, but this team is just not constructed very well. And again, the head coach is you know, one of the first on the list to get blamed for stuff like that. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it, because like I said, those guys were healthy and he couldn't figure it out. He couldn't solve that puzzle. But you know, oftentimes the general manager doesn't get any of the blame. And again, we see that, right? But in the Pelicans, right? What is he? The president of basketball? Yeah, it looks like they're going to hire Joe Dumars. Apparently, they're in the middle of discussions right now to be the head of basketball operations because they just fired David Griffin of the New Orleans Pelicans. So a lot of moving parts in the NBA, right? Questions about where Zion is gonna go. That's something we'll discuss as things move on. Um, like the NBA is in a it's in a transition period for sure, for sure. Bradley Beal, Paul George, and Jimmy Burrow gotta all go to Charlotte. Now we getting Melo and Trey Man up out of there. Hey man, LaMelo, I just seen a video of him talking about he's uh when you build something, it's not just gonna pop off overnight. It's gonna take time. I guess kind of hinting at wanting to stay. But again, if you wanted to stay, you would just say, I want to stay. So we'll see what happens. If I were him, I would be looking to get the fuck out of there because like we've discussed before, some organizations just aren't it, right? Some organizations just are not it. Now, we have to talk about some basketball. And I hate the play-in, right? I hate the play-in. But we got a really good game out of it. And I just love the fact that we could get good basketball games. And that was exactly what we got between the Los Angeles Clippers and the Golden State Warriors. Where is Bruce? Where is Bruce? Elijah, where's Bruce? Where? He's ducking us now? He's ducking us. Where's Bruce? What do you got to say about this, Bruce? Come on, man. Like, these guys are supposed to be in the finals, right? Oh, yeah, Melo got to stop trying to be Trae Young. Yeah, he got to go do some other shit, man. But we got to talk about the Warriors. What happened, Golden State? You guys were supposed to be comfortably in the playoffs against the Los Angeles Lakers, and all of a sudden, you guys are in a play-in game. You can't make this stuff up, right? You can't write some of this shit. They lose on a buzzer beater to former Warrior, now San Antonio Spurs, Harrison Barnes, and needed to win this game to get out of this situation that they're in. Think about how just poetry, like poetry, right? Poetry. It makes the loss that they had just a week ago even bigger because it was just to the Houston Rockets, who they might end up playing in the first round now. And then on top of that, they are 0-3 in play-ins. It's not what they were hoping for. It feels like, when you're watching a game and a team is down by a lot, right? And they're trying to come back. They're on this crazy run. What happens a lot of times, even if they're playing the greatest basketball, they end up losing those games still, even when they come back, just because the amount of effort it takes just to come back and then have to get over the hump and win the game. It's a lot. And that's almost what it feels like is happening with the Golden State Warriors. They were in such a deep hole. And now that they're trying to dig themselves out of it, their little mistakes now cost them a lot more, which is exactly what's happened in the last week for them. I'm trying to tell y'all, you can't cut it on and off. And honestly, I don't even think they were cutting it on and off, right? Ever since they got Jimmy Butler, I mean, before, they weren't a very good basketball team, right? They had some good pieces, but they just were not winning games. And then you insert Jimmy Butler, who, to his credit, was obviously a net positive in a lot of ways. We just wanted some more scoring, but they were winning a lot of games. And, you look back at some of the losses along the way, like the Houston game, like the Spurs game, and now the Clippers game, and you're just like, what the fuck? Something both Jimmy and Warriors are guilty of for years. I mean, I never even thought of it. I never even thought of it that way. That's crazy. But let's talk a little bit about this Clippers game, because they ran into a LA Clippers team that these guys have been playing well lately. These guys have been playing really well lately. Ivica Zubac, we'll just call him Zoo, man. His first name is too much. Zubac has been playing really, really well, right? Ever since I spoke about what his record was when he gets like double doubles, right? he started going crazy. Kawhi Leonard has been playing really well, and so has James Harden. And then Norman Powell has just been super steady for them, right, throughout the entire year. And so, we've mentioned that they could be a dangerous team. Y'all motherfuckers don't, like, Bruce was like, nah. I'm like, they could be dangerous, right? They could be really dangerous. I mean, you had 39-10 for Harden, 33-7 for Kawhi Leonard. 56% shooting for Harden, 65% for Kawhi Leonard. 3 steals also for Kawhi, by the way. 3 steals, and then 2 for Harden. So 5 steals in between the two of them. They're getting you 70, 80 points. I mean, that sometimes there aren't game plans for stuff like that, right? Which makes them really dangerous. Now, the question is, can they do it 4 times in a 7-game series, right? That's the question. Will Kawhi Leonard be healthy? Will James Harden play at this consistent clip, right? So before, there's been a lot of ups and downs with him, but will he play at this consistent clip? Those are the things that will have to get answered in the playoffs. But I could see why it works, right? I could see I could see how it works, because if you watch both of them in the past, right, Kawhi and James Harden, they both, Kawhi will go down. I mean, you were watching the Raptors, right, Elijah? How many times will Kawhi go 3, 4, 5 possessions in a row, pretty much, and either shoot or, get into some trouble and pass it, right? James Harden was the same thing, right? Go 3, 4, 5, 6 possessions in a row of him just kind of dictating everything, getting up shots, trying to make things happen, right? And what happens when you play like that, the more possessions in a row you're doing the same thing or something similar, the less effective it's going to be, right? And then you start entering this hero ball territory when it comes to star players, right? But now that they have to split the the duty up, right? Like James Harden, you have 3 possessions in a row where we're gonna go to you and you're gonna do your thing, pick and roll, get your step backs, da 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 da. All right, now you gotta go give it up to Kawhi. Kawhi, you get 3 possessions in a row also. I think it actually, having each other, kind of minimizes some of those hero ball plays in a weird way. In a weird way, it minimizes the amount of hero ball plays that they both do. And I think the other part in it that benefits the both of them is they're both really good catch and shoot 3-point shooters, right? So having the ability to stay in the corner or stay at the slot and knock down shots while the other guy's working, to be a spacer, I think is really helping the both of them out. Honestly, I think Paul George was kind of getting in the way of that shit last year. especially when he's not hitting shots, right? So something on paper that wouldn't typically work out, right? Kawhi Leonard and James Harden in reality kind of does. Facial hair, Big Zoo, and Animal Cloud, Animatopia, and Flight 55. What? An Animal Claw and Flight 55. I like this roster. I think we've said before, when I was talking about how I think they could be dangerous. If you look at just names on paper, the roster looks crazy. Like straight names on paper. And you have two guys that are starting to figure it out. Kawhi, we've seen him go big in the playoffs, right? And we have someone that could take some pressure off of James Harden and be the one to take lead in those moments. I think is going to be really important. You got Bogey off the bench. It wasn't so much last night, but I've seen Ben Simmons give positive minutes, right? I've seen him give positive minutes before. And so we'll see, man. If he has a moment in the playoffs, y'all never know. Y'all never know. Oh, and the code for a code. Just ask AI. You know what's funny? We'll talk about their potential matchup in just 1 second, but you talk about what's the Adelman? What's his son's name? David Adelman. Yeah, David Adelman, the Denver coach, because that's gonna be that's the matchup, right? That's the first round matchup. You're talking about T. Lue versus an interim coach, right? Talk about the difference in experience right there, right? But quickly, just to circle back to the Warriors real quick. Jimmy Butler, how healthy is he going to be? He took a shot at the game. And so, we have to see where his health stands. And also Kuminga played no minutes. He got no tick. Right? So a player that was supposed to play a key role on this team, right? Who has talent, got no tick in a game where they needed to win. So, I mean, I can't imagine them having faith in him during big games in the playoffs. I know he's been there, but that's just one of those things. So, a lot of question marks. A lot of question marks about the 7th seed, right? A lot of question marks about the Golden State Warriors. And I think that's kind of where my head's been at when it comes to the playoffs, right? What team has the least amount of question marks, right? Where will Jimmy Butler be able to score 25 a game? Will Podziemski be able to do what he's been doing in the regular season, right? Will Jonathan Kuminga come up and be a key player for this team on a finals run? I mean, there's so many questions that we just haven't seen compared to some of these other rosters that I think has added a little bit of doubt to the Golden State Warriors. Now, we'll look at their matchup later in the play-in. So let's look ahead really quickly because we're already talking about the Clippers, right? And we're gonna talk about your well, it's not even your Lakers, but we're gonna talk about the Denver Nuggets. Sorry about that. We're gonna talk about the Denver Nuggets because that's set to be the 4-5 matchup. The Denver Nuggets versus the Los Angeles Clippers. And obviously there's a lot of turmoil in the Denver Nuggets camp, right? So I think that's point one, right? Even though they won a championship just recently, right, 2 years ago, there are a lot of question marks about their team currently. Mainly, how is David Adelman going to coach them, right? The the talk about it was they're gonna have him. They're trying to spread the love around, essentially. They're trying to spread the wealth around, especially on offense, between Jokic and everyone else, right? Instead of it just being the Nikola Jokic show. And we'll see how that works because we haven't seen any of these guys step up to be an all-star yet, right? So that's something to keep in mind. They split their series this year with the Clippers 2-2. And if I had to guess, their game is on Saturday, April 19th, right? If I had to guess, Jokic is going to be in pick and rolls from the second the ball tips off. James Harden might get the ball, and they might call a pick and roll at half court on Jokic. They are going to run him in pick and rolls the entire game. And we've seen how James Harden is against bigs in pick and rolls, even at his age. Right? He still gets by pretty much everyone. So that's number one. They are going to force him and Michael Porter Jr. in pick and rolls the entire game, right? So that's number one. Number two, what Jamal Murray are we going to get? Right? If you're going to tell me right now that Jamal Murray is going to ball out and his pick and roll action with Jokic is something that they can go to for an entire quarter and be successful again, then yeah, I would tell you that that the Nuggets have a good chance of winning this series. But that's not the case right now. We don't know how much they're gonna be playing Russell Westbrook versus young boy. What's his name? Pickett. Yeah, with Jalen Pickett, right? Because he got some really big minutes down the stretch for the Nuggets. I think he had a triple-double earlier this year too. And so who is going to get those minutes, right? A lot of question marks when it comes to them. And obviously on the other side too is the Clippers were campaigning for Zubac to get Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, it was like the last week of the season, so I don't know how much of a campaign that was, but you know, they had T-shirts out and shit, and yeah, he should win Defensive Player of the Year. Chances are he won't get it because, like I've said before, they campaigned way too late. But now he's gonna have an opportunity to show it, and in this series, he is going to be big on defense, but also on offense because, like I said, they're going to be running a lot of pick and roll with him and Jokic being involved in it, right? So what type of series is he going to have? How much is he going to be able to slow down or at least make Jokic's game really difficult, right? I think that's the big question, and obviously how healthy is Kawhi Leonard going to be every time they step on the floor, right? Because it feels like sometimes every game for him is like 2 or 3 games, but he's been playing really well. And I'll tell you right now, if he's healthy, they're really dangerous. They're really dangerous if he's healthy, man. The game looks easy to him right now. Like it looks, I don't want to say it looks like Toronto, but he's getting to his shit pretty easy. And if he's healthy, I think sky is the limit for this team, right? Sky's the limit because, like I said, they have a deep roster. I think they can go with different lineups if they need to. Yeah, I like this. I like this Clippers team. I like this Clippers team, man. The more I look at it, the more I like this team. What y'all think, man? What y'all think? Let Let me see. Yeah, that's the 4-5 matchup. Now, how big of a hater? How big of a hater do you think Anthony Edwards is? Who chose the last game to become the 3-point leader on the season. Now, this is the only thing that really let me see if I saved it. This is the only thing that really bothers me when it comes to this 3-point leader stuff, right? Here, Bleacher Report had released, stat leaders, right? So scoring leaders, it's an average, right? Shea is at 32.7. Rebound leaders, Domas, right? Sabonis is leading at 13.9. Jokic is third, by the way, right? 12.7 in that. Jokic is third in points, also 29.6. Assists, Trae Young is leading at 11.6, right? Jokic is second at 10.2. Blocks is at Walker Kessler because Wemby went out, so he's ineligible for any of the awards, right? 2.4 blocks per game. Steals, right? Dyson Daniels, 3. And Jokic is at 1.8, right? And then all of a sudden, 3-point leaders is a total, which Anthony Edwards now has at 320. So, why isn't it some sort of average, like a percentage or the amount that you make a game? Like, I just wish they were consistent. Right? I just wish they were consistent because even the points per game leader, right? Like, that could be skewed. Right? If you play less games, for example, right? If you're above the threshold but you play less games and you have a bunch of big games, it could bump your points per game up versus someone that's just consistent throughout the entire year. Right? Which I'm pretty sure Shea is probably he's probably on top of both of them, actually. Let's see. Total point leader. Yeah, he's still on top of that with 2484 on the year, right? In 76 games played. Anthony Edwards is second at 2177. Jokic at 2071 and third. Giannis at fourth, 2036. That's the 2000 club for the year, right? So, why isn't it that total? Why isn't it 2400 total points? That's the point. That's the point leader for the year, right? It takes into account how much you're scoring into a game, but also how consistent you are, right? So, that's just one of those things. Oh my God. Oh, 3 more games. Anthony Edwards is playing a lot of minutes this year. But yeah, I thought that was weird. But to look ahead at this matchup, right? Because we have the Los Angeles Lakers taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round of the playoffs, and I think everyone expects the Lakers to win this, right? I think everyone expects expects the Lakers to win this series. What's up, Bruce? Bruce, why are you ducking the Warriors the Warriors convo? Why you just popped in after the right after the Warriors convo? What happened, man? What happened? You guys are supposed to have the week off. Man. Harrison Barnes with a dagger. I'm not ducking from the smoke. Oh man, I mean, I think they still get into the playoffs, but they just made it a little bit more difficult on them. Just a little bit more difficult, right? Just a little bit more difficult. Those losses were really big. That's what we were talking about earlier. Those losses, the Houston loss and the and that Spurs loss are so much bigger after what happened yesterday with them, right? So they're probably kicking themselves for that, but they got one game to beat. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Back to the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Los Angeles Lakers. What an interesting matchup. What an interesting matchup right now. I'm at work all the time at work. Hey man. I respect it. But we got to talk about these Los Angeles Lakers, man, because they went from potentially playing the Golden State Warriors to now playing the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I think this matchup is still really interesting to me, right? Because the Minnesota Timberwolves have struggled pretty much all year. These guys have struggled pretty much all year. They were talking about they have no identity. Their defense is not nearly what it was last year. And Anthony Edwards shooting more threes. Will Julius Randle fit? Again, a lot of question marks about this team, right? And somehow, some way they ended up sixth and against the Los Angeles Lakers with, a Luka Doncic, right? And so what a draw. What a draw, right? I have patience. Oh man, you got to take care of them. You got to take care of them, man. You're doing the good work. Do you think, man? One of his most, if not the most difficult year of his career, of his young career, right? He went from, this guy is going to be the next Michael Jordan, to everyone questioning the way that he plays. His off the court stuff is now impacting on the court stuff a little bit. And so he has an opportunity, win or lose, to really change that narrative if he has a massive series. So that win last night was not just a big performance in a big game where he became the 3-point champ on the year, but he also potentially purchased the golden ticket. Because even if they lose and he goes big going against the Lakers with LeBron and Luka, them being the underdog, it's going to look good for Anthony Edwards. It just will. And it could add to this story of, him becoming one of the greats, right? Because everyone's got to lose and stuff still, especially with the year that they've had. But if he goes and does his thing, he has an opportunity, right? And I hope he takes advantage of it. Not going to lie, I'm concerned about tomorrow. Me too, but I think you guys are all right. I think you guys will be all right, man. Now, with the idea that Anthony Edwards could and will want to go off against the Los Angeles Lakers, I expect JJ Redick to be prepared for that. So I fully expect JJ Redick to blitz and send double teams at Anthony Edwards pretty much from game one. I don't think they're going to allow him to get off. I think JJ Redick is smart enough to know that. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do, especially with all of the comments about he hates the double teams and yada, yada, yada. Right? And especially young players and young talented players, they're going to end up taking some really bad shots when they get frustrated. So that's what they're hoping for, right? That's what they're looking for. So that's number one. Number two, they have Julius Randle instead of Karl Anthony Towns now. And so what I imagine is going to happen is LeBron is probably going to be on Julius Randle. And so it's really going to be important for him to beat that matchup if they want to win this series. Do I expect him to put up better numbers than LeBron? Genuinely, no. But that's what's going to have to happen if they're gonna win this series. But also, he's gonna have to beat him in I think a lot of one-on-one scenarios. It's gonna be either LeBron or Rui that's gonna be on him, I think, most of the time. And so it's probably gonna be Bron. And so if Julius Randle can take advantage of that matchup, LeBron is 40, right? He's still athletic and stuff, but it's just not the same. And so can Julius Randle punish him and whoever is switched on him on the block, which is what Karl Anthony Towns wasn't doing, right? That was the big thing that he wasn't doing last year, which was posting up. And so if he's able to do that, the double is going to have to come. Swing. Anthony Edwards' three-point shot is much better now. So he can hit that three on the swing. So that's going to be really important. But now for the Lakers side, right? How are you going to guard Luka? Because we saw this last year when the Dallas Mavericks went up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. What are they going to do? They're going to put Rudy Gobert in constant pick and rolls with Luka involved. And with Bron too, but especially with Luka, because he torches him every time. And so are they going to then have to put Rudy Gobert on like Rui or something? And then they're going to put, Jaden McDaniels on Jackson Hayes so they could just switch it? They'll probably start with Anthony Edwards on Luka, right? And then when they call the pick and roll, just so they could be a direct switch, and then Anthony Edwards is just going to have to try to defend, I guess, Jackson Hayes if he can, because he's not going to post up. So, that's an option. But if I'm the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm gonna double Luka pretty much every time also, and we're gonna hope that it finds Rui. Try to force Rui to be the shooter and be the guy to make plays, and we'll have to see if Austin Reeves is really like that. Will be the other thing, right? Because I'm assuming they're probably gonna match up, like I said, LeBron and Randle, right? And so you're going to have either Dante DiVincenzo or Mike Conley is going to end up on Austin Reeves, right? So if the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to win, those guys are going to have to, one, defend, but two, also try to get the best of him on the other side as well, too. So look for Dante to have a big series if the Timberwolves are going to win, because if they're going to do that's what I imagine the rotations are going to look like. Or the Minnesota Timberwolves can just say, fuck it, and just start with Naz Reid to start the night. Right? So you could see how he kind of goes against Luka on one-on-ones, even though I don't like those chances either. Yeah, I don't know. They have a number of options, I think, but I don't love any of them. And, we were talking earlier about having less question marks, right? And I think when you're the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron has been such a proven winner. Luka just did it last year and got all the way to the finals. And, He has a Austin Reeves with him. He has LeBron with him. He still has a lob threat in Jackson Hayes. So, I I like that mix up, right? I think Luka has been proven to win in this league, even with a lot of the doubts and the concerns, right? Um, and like I said, I think he's just gonna punish them. I think he's gonna punish them. They're gonna have to. The Timberwolves are gonna have to do something. They're gonna have to really shake things up if they want to win this series. And it really starts with how they're gonna defend Luka in that pick and roll. Now, we're moving. We're moving right along with this. Now we got to look in the Eastern Conference, right? Because I think both of them are also very intriguing. You have the Indiana Pacers taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. And I don't expect Damian Lillard to come back. I don't expect him to come back. I don't even expect him to come back, regardless of how deep the Bucks go. But the main thing with this is they went 6 games against the Bucks last year, and the Bucks didn't have Giannis in any of those games. So I don't love that for the Indiana Pacers, right? I don't love that. And Giannis has been on a tear, right? Giannis he's been on a tear. Bobby Portis just came back. It's not the same Bucks team. Kevin Porter Jr. has been really solid for them. And like we've talked about, if Kyle Kuzma can just be a solid role player just to take a little bit more pressure off of Giannis, and Giannis is doing his thing, I kind of like the Bucks in this series, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. Giannis is gonna have to be a demigod. He's gonna have to go hero mode, but I think he can. And so that's the worry for the Indiana Pacers. How are they gonna guard him? Will Tyrese Halliburton be aggressive is going to be number one, right? I think you need him to be aggressive. When he's aggressive, the Pacers are good, right? But he needs to be aggressive at all times. He can't take 7 shots in a game, right? He can't take 10 shots in a game. I get that he wants to get his assists, but your team is better when you're aggressive, and he needs to be aggressive. And if not, will Andrew Nembhard come in big again like he did last year in the playoffs? Because that guy came up massive. And so that's something to look forward to. Can Pascal Siakam, he'll never get to Giannis's numbers. This is what I was talking about earlier with like Jokic and Zubac, right? Like, you're never going to match them. But can you make a dent in it? Right? Especially as the person that's going to be matching up against them one-on-one, head-to-head pretty much, right? Can you counter what they're doing in their production just a little bit? And so I don't love that, especially because Giannis is improved as a mid-range shooter. These guys are big. Like, the Bucks are big, man. With Kuzma, Giannis, Bobby Portis. I mean, this is a big lineup that they have. It's a big lineup that they have. But moving right along. I get that you guys have made fun of me for my New York Knicks all year long. Like, you guys have really made fun of me for my Knicks all year long. But we've been third all year, right? I'm not like Elijah and his Lakers where Luka just falls on your lap, right? We don't have that luxury, especially with our ownership. And then And then your Warriors just they just choked. They just choked. You guys might not even be in the playoffs. We might come into next weekend and the Warriors might not be in the playoffs. So forgive my New York Knicks for being a 3 seed all year long. Now, I am a little worried. I am a little worried, man. I'm a little worried. Because Jalen Brunson is coming back. I know he's looked solid in these games, but he's coming back still. Right? You know, when you're a scorer, you have to get that rhythm in. Right? And him having to do that in the first round against an extremely physical Detroit Pistons team. I mean, they just started the propaganda a couple weeks ago that, you know, they're embodying the bad boys. They're riding for one another. They're physical. You know, they talked about, you know, when they complain, be even more aggressive and more physical. Excuse me. And so to have that in a series where Brunson is still trying to get in rhythm, excuse me, I don't love it. I don't love that. Now, when it comes to the New York Knicks, I think we have far more power offensively, right? And this is really where OG and Mikal Bridges are going to be massive, because it's going to be on them to stop Cade Cunningham. And the guy just said he's trying to be the best player in the world. I mean, that's not what we want to hear when you about to play us in the playoffs. Like, we want to hear doubt. Like, we don't want to hear I'm trying to be the best player in the world. He said everything but say I'm trying to be the face of the league right now. It was in the interview with Shams. Like, he might as well have said it. And to have the season that he's had, you can't speed him up. He's bigger than a lot of point guards. That's why, you know, Jalen Brunson he's going to try his best to find Jalen Brunson. And they're going to try their best to get, you know, Jalen Brunson on him, right? That's going to be the cat and mouse game of this series. How well can the Knicks hide Jalen Brunson? And how well can OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges guard Cade Cunningham? Because that's what I think that's where the series is going to rely on. Right? And I think with the both of them especially, they'll be able to do a more than good enough job, right? You know, and at that point you're you know, Tim Hardaway Jr., you're expecting him to hit a whole bunch of shots, or Malik Beasley or Tobias Harris. We've seen that story before. So I do like my New York Knicks in this series. Plus, they're not going to let them be that physical. Like, come on. Like, there's no way they are going to let Isaiah Stewart point a finger at my almighty captain, Jalen Brunson. Because dumb referees, you better tee that motherfucker up. You get out of here. You better sit his ass down on the bench. Cause we can't have none of that. Like, I don't know if Isaiah Stewart gets to chirping, I don't know who's about to protect him. Like, I don't know what's about to happen, man. We know Draymond Green not coming out of the bleachers for us. So it really will depend on how physical they're going to allow the Detroit Pistons be, which I can't imagine they'll let them be that physical. So it'll be interesting to see how the call is, how the whistle is early on in these games. But I like our firepower, right? I think one-on-one we could defend Cade Cunningham. Yeah, I like our chances. I like our chances, man. Neither of those guys are super proven when it comes to hitting a bunch of big threes in the playoffs, being Tobias Harris and Tim Hardaway Jr. So I like our chances. I like our chances. Now, looking ahead to um the play-in matchups, right? So I think it's tomorrow night. Let me see. Let me double check. Yeah, tomorrow night, the 15th. Yep, tomorrow night we're going to have. It's not even on Wednesday, Bruce. It's tomorrow night. So we have the Atlanta Hawks taking on the Orlando Magic first, and then we have the Memphis Grizzlies taking on the Golden State Warriors. So when it comes to this Orlando Magic Atlanta Hawks game, I gotta tell you, I like the Orlando Magic. They've split the series 2-2, even though yesterday was basically a throwaway because Orlando didn't play anybody. But it's 2-2 on the year, and I think Orlando is just gonna have too much size. Even though they haven't, they're still missing guys, but I think they're just gonna have too much size. I expect Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner to have a good game. So I think they are going to take that. And unfortunately for them, they draw the Boston Celtics in the first round of the playoffs, where, we talked about Anthony Edwards potentially having an opportunity to have one of those big series under the spotlight. Paolo Banchero has an opportunity to do that against the Boston Celtics. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with tomorrow's game. But I do have the Orlando Magic. Trae Young is liable to go off at any moment, so that's always interesting. But I have the Orlando Magic in that one. And the big game, the Memphis Grizzlies versus the Golden State Warriors. We said before, the Golden State Warriors have not won in a play-in game, right? They're 0-3. And so, I mean, they're kind of lucky, man, that they drew the Memphis Grizzlies, because another team with a massive coaching change a week or two before the season ends. So talk about a team that's really going through a change, but Ja likes big games against good competition. And so, like we just said about Trae Young, Ja is liable to go off. And if the Warriors' shots aren't hitting, and if Jimmy Butler is still not looking for his shot consistently, this game can get really sketchy. Bane can get off. Jaren Jackson Jr. can hit a bunch of threes also. And so it's one of those dangerous games, especially if they underestimate this team by at any moment. But with all of that being said, I still don't have them winning the game, because that's a lot of what ifs that needs to go their way versus a team that we've seen in the Warriors that have been consistent for most of the last 2 months or so. Um, and I like Steve Kerr in this coaching matchup. KD legacy dipping by the year. I'm not talking trash about the Grizz. Warriors need to take the Grizz seriously. No, that's 100%. That's 100%. You have a guy in John Morant who, a lot of these guys who shoot a lot of 3-point shots, their games aren't consistent game to game because they're relying on hitting those shots. Someone like Ja who gets to the rim consistently doesn't rely on that, right? He can have a consistent game in and game out. So we'll see. Wells was guarding Curry last game, so who's gonna guard him now? That is true, man. That is true. I don't know. Let's see at the what is this? What's their matchups? Oh yeah, they just played on the 1st, right? April 1st. Which the Warriors won 134 to 125. And that was that was the 52 piece. That was the 52 piece, right? So I don't know what they're about to do. That was the big game from that was the big game from Steph, right? That was the big game from Steph. And they needed every bit of it. Right? So it's definitely one of those, it's definitely one of those what if games. I think Ja had 30 some. Yeah, he had 36 that game too. So definitely the Warriors can't play with those guys. Definitely can't play with them. Miami, Chicago. Who you guys got? Miami, Chicago. I like Chicago in that game. I like the Giddey Kobe White duo. I think they might shoot the lights out against these guys. They might just like when those two guys are in flow, like when they're both just going. That backcourt is damn near as good as any. Like they can make plays, they could hit shots, they can make tough shots. They could do those two guards are so crafty. They could do a little bit of everything. They're just fucking small. But just when I like those two guys. Those two guys are really, really good, especially when they're going. That he has trouble scoring. Yeah, if they put Jimmy Butler in this game somehow, I would probably take the Miami Heat. If somehow Jimmy Butler walk out the tunnel with the Chicago Bulls, Bam gonna get 30. They win the game. But that's not what's happening. They're gonna be playing the Chicago Bulls, and I don't like their odds in this one. So I definitely got the Chicago Bulls in this game. And then the last one, the Dallas Mavericks versus the Sacramento Kings. Who do you have in this game? Oh, man. A part of me wants to say Dallas, but I just don't think they do it, man. If you were to tell me that, Anthony Davis is going to have one of those games, he go and get, 37 and 15. Spencer Dinwiddie has, a really good stretch down the, plays really well down the stretch, can close the game for them kind of thing. Then maybe. But this might be a 30-30 game for Zach and DeMar. They might get 30 each this game. Klay Dunn, Mavs have no playmaker. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even mention Klay Thompson. He's been he hasn't been a big factor. I mean, granted, a lot of shit's happened with Dallas, but he hasn't been a big factor for them. Um, Dinwiddie disappears, which is crazy. He used to have so many clutch moments. So many clutch moments. Um, but I got Sacramento. I got Sacramento in this. And I'm expecting a big game out of Zach and DeMar, honestly, both of them. I think both of them have a big game. And then, they also and then they would play the Grizzlies, right? Okay, so we get to that part. So it'd be Memphis versus Dallas. Um Memphis versus Dallas. That's interesting. Which of them has had more issues? Memphis, Dallas. I think Dallas is just fucked this year. So I think Memphis wins that. Knock Dallas out the playoffs for good. And then that leaves the Atlanta Hawks versus the Miami Heat. Atlanta Hawks versus the Miami Heat. Dyson Daniels is gonna have Tyler Hero. Trey Young can kind of do his thing. I feel like a weird vibe. I feel like Bam probably not gonna have a big game, but I feel like someone like Zachary Risachet can come out and have a big game against the Miami Heat. Oh, for the eighth spot. Oh yeah, because it's the winner, right? Oh yeah, Grizz Kings. Oh shit, Grizzlies Kings. Oh yeah, winner and loser. Grizzlies Kings. I like the Kings in that matchup too. I actually like the Kings in that matchup. I think the Kings win. I think the Kings actually beat the Grizzlies. So the Kings end up going against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yeah, because they beat Dallas. Yep. Winner versus. Yep. Yeah, winner versus loser. Yep. Dallas is out. Who y'all got in that one? I actually like the Kings. I think they're just relying on too many just variables versus like the Kings are not a good basketball team, but they just have so much more talent, I think. Um Kings beat the Grizzlies. So then that leaves the Chicago Bulls versus the Atlanta Hawks, right? Chicago Bulls versus the Atlanta Hawks. Because we got the Bulls winning that matchup. Dyson Daniels could probably neutralize Giddy. Kobe White could kind of get off a little bit. Yeah, I feel like a Sabonis against JJJ. I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like Sabonis might get 20 rebounds that game because JJJ sometimes like him and like Miles Turner begin them 7 rebound games that just makes me scratch my head for real. So I like the Kings in that game for sure. The thing about like the Bulls though is because we were talking about guard play, and they have Dyson Daniels. The Atlanta Hawks do. Let me see. Let me see some. Let me see some real quick. Um, Clint Capella. I actually don't know that one. The Bulls or the Hawks? I think this. I think the Atlanta Hawks might actually win this game. Like it might be like one of those weird game like Levert go crazy, right? It might be one of those games like Levert just really goes crazy. Yeah, I actually think opposite of you, Bruce. I actually like the Hawks in that game. Excuse me. Yeah, I'll take the Atlanta Hawks over the Bulls. Even though I like the Chicago Bulls, man, they're fun. They're fun to watch. But I think I like the Hawks in that game. We will see what happens. We will see what happens, man. We will see what happens. But games start up tomorrow. Um, Atlanta, Orlando, and then Warriors, Grizzlies, and then is it the night after? Let me double check again. Yeah, and then the far, and then the yep, and then the following night we get right into some more games. So we will talk about that when the time comes, which will be Wednesday. Just as a reminder, I will be live Wednesday as usual and Thursday, and I will not be here Friday. But thank you guys for hanging out with me as always. I know that was a lot of hoop talk today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys liked the analysis, the breakdown, the predictions. Hey, man, it was fun. It was fun. It was fun. But thank you guys as always. You guys could have been anywhere on the internet, but y'all were here with me. And I appreciate you so much for that. Thank you so much. I will see y'all later. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Elijah, for hanging out as always. Y'all have a good one, man. I'll see you guys Wednesday. Peace.